I'm really excited today to bring to you a great startup, and a startup that came reality back in the 80s when there was no internet, there was no digital marketing, and a concept that was completely unheard of. And I'm here with the founder of a company called LobsterGram, Dan Zawacki, who built this company in 86 and took it from a stage where there was no market, there was no presence, there was no demand, and he built that whole demand supply side and built the whole market around it. And it is an exciting idea. You will love it when you hear about it. So Dan, tell us more about what led to LobsterGram. What was the fundamental piece of the pain point or frustration or something that leads to new companies that you found and you decided, voila, this is the place where I should start and this is what I should do?
Well, it's a very interesting story. LobsterGram started because I actually had a real job at Honeywell in Peoria, Illinois, and I was a salesman. And I was a pretty good sales guy, so as Christmas gifts, I would give out, regular things, fruit baskets, steaks from Omaha, all that kind of stuff. And one day I just decided, well, I want to do something that's fun, that's unique and memorable. And so I was just driving down from Springfield, Illinois, back to Peoria, and I swear I saw up in the sky a picture of a cloud, and it was a lobster. And immediately I said, I am going to give lobsters as gifts to my clients, and they are gonna love it. And so that's how I came up with the concept. So I tried to literally find somebody in Maine, and of course there wasn't any internet. So I had a friend from Boston who sent me the Yellow Pages, if everybody remembers those. And I literally went down there was like 22 lobster dealers. And I called each one and I said, hey, I got this idea. I want to send 2 lobsters with some lemon and butter. And they all said, well, that's the stupidest idea I ever heard. Nobody wants like 2 lobsters sent to their house. And so I was really discouraged, and I was about this close to just not doing it. But I still thought to myself, wow, what a fun gift this would be. So I just decided I'll do it myself. And so I literally bought about 200 lobsters, and I just put them in the trunk of my car. Of course, it was a company car. And I put a piece of sheet of plastic under it. I put all these live lobsters on it. And I didn't know anything about lobsters. Luckily, it was cold enough, but not too cold where it froze them. And so then literally, I would just drive around to all my customers, and I'd open up the trunk of my car. I'd take 2 lobsters out, and I'd put them in like a jewel bag. I mean, it was totally low-class packaging. I put lemon in it. I put a stick of butter. I wrote a little thank you note and stapled it onto it. And of course, for a little classy touch, I put a little bow on it and I stapled that on there. And I just give them to my customers, and then they just open it up and go, oh my gosh, are these live? And people just loved it. They actually called me, they thanked me, they wrote me letters. And so what I consider myself is an accidental entrepreneur. I just really did not come up with it. It just kind of happened.
So Dan, so think about it. So now you have left the job. You are supposed to start something because you have come out because of a reason.
Yeah.
So what steps you took after that? What happened that took that business from nothing to something? So let's share with us that story.
Okay. After I was let go, I immediately called my mom and dad. And my mom said, well, just move in with us. I went into my old bedroom, made that my office, and my dad parked his car out in the street, and that was my warehouse. I had half a garage.
Now you have a real business. You're working on the supply side. You got a new tank. You got a freezer for your gel packs. So, and you're living at your parents, and your dad is parking his car out in the garage for you to give you some space. So now you have to build a real business. You have the onus is on you. You left the job. You have come back to Chicago, and you're trying to set this up. So tell us, in the early days, how did you set up that first supplier relationship where you have a consistent source of product, and then also you kept on developing the demand side, the market side of it? And it's very difficult for the early stage founders.
Well, those are great questions. So, boy, I started the company with $1,000 because that's all I had. And one of the key points is finding a great supplier. So I found a local supplier in the Chicago area, and I literally just went and visited the owner, told him my idea, what I was going to do, And for whatever reason, he just thought, wow, that's really cool. And I was getting paid by credit card, so I got paid literally within a day, and I got terms of 30 days. So that's how I was able to leverage my buying power. How I created the demand was really just through barter, right? So radio stations gave away gifts to all their big clients. And I gave LobsterGram gift certificates that I literally printed by hand to the radio stations in exchange for 60-second commercials. And this was basically how I started LobsterGram, the demand, and it was really free, is how that worked. So luckily, the company was growing and growing, and basically when I hit about 40 packages a day, I just couldn't ship anything more out of my mom and dad's house. So that's when I worked a deal. I went to the Boston Seafood Show and I met a wholesaler and worked a deal out with him where I would do all the marketing and he would do the fulfillment. And in the demand side, I started just offering more gift certificates to more and more radio stations. And so the demand kept going and going. And of course, people loved it. So then they would tell their friends. So our number one source of revenue was word of mouth. About 10 years later, we're still at the facility in Peabody, Massachusetts. And there's starting to become some problems out there. Our revenues were probably around close to $2 million. But what was happening is the wholesaler, since we were 1,000 miles away in Chicago, we were just having some quality issues with the lobsters. We weren't getting the grade A lobsters anymore. We were having a lot of packing problems. He wasn't carrying as much as he did. And it just wasn't working for the model. I mean, you know, it's all about customer service when you're in the food business, really. I mean, because if you don't have the best product, someone's going to go to another place. In terms of building a demand, I found out that what really was the key driver was conservative talk show hosts doing live reads. So that's was my target market, 100%. We were on Sean Hannity, we were on Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck. I even did some national radio with Howard Stern, who was quite a trip. And that's how we just really started building the demand for this company.
So you were mentioning earlier to me when we were talking that in food service business, quality and customer service is everything. And you were having some hiccups. There were some quality issues, there were time issues, delivery and all that stuff. And that led you to do something that became an instrumental piece of your success in the scale stage of the business. So why don't you share that with us, that what you saw, what happened, and how you tried to mitigate that, and what action you took leading to that that led to a more successful business.
So our sales are probably about 8 million. We're shipping around 70,000 packages, and it just wasn't working with the distributor and wholesaler out in Massachusetts. So the only logical conclusion for me was I had to buy my own warehouse, put my own people in it where I could control the quality of what was coming in, what was going out, including the packaging, all that. And that's exactly what we ended up doing. We bought an 18,000 square foot warehouse right on US Route 1 in Biddeford, Maine. And that just changed the company entirely. And it really helped us grow to, ultimately we shipped over 130,000 packages a year out of that facility.
So after all these stories, right, the company started from your mom's dad's home and the garage and the tank and the freezer and all the way to Boston, the partnership and acquisition, and eventually you're making millions of dollars, and it took how many years? How many years it took?
30 years.
30 years. So you have built this whole legacy, right? that has taken its own time to come to a shape. And now, as like every story, every founder, we get exhausted. We're humans, we're not machines. And we have to find a different passion that we move on to, right? And you did find the passion while you were towards the end part of your journey. So tell us a little bit more that what led to that exit quickly, that how you plan to exit it and what happened, and then just segue into what you're doing today. I'm like, what's your passion drove you from that point now, and what you're trying to drive yourself into, and the community part of it and all that.
So you're right, with all entrepreneurs, I just was burned out.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing was I lost my passion. Even though it was my baby and I built it, we had 125 employees. I just wasn't passionate anymore about it. And to this day, I'm not quite sure what it was, but all I know is if you're an entrepreneur and you're not passionate what you're doing, you got to get out. So I decided that that's what I was going to do. And quite literally, it was probably 27 years I was in, and about 3 years it took me to do it. All right, because with all entrepreneurs, you got a great salary, you got the car, you got the health, you're getting 3-week vacations, all this great stuff.
Right.
But I was like, there's a higher calling for me. So I decided I was going to sell it, and I figured it probably was going to take about a year. Another reason I wanted to sell it too is our sales were growing. The bank was kind of squeezing me more, and they said I was going to have to put in literally $500,000 more to shore up our line of credit. And it just did not feel right. And I just decided to get out. And like I said, I thought it'd take about a year or so to do it. And literally within 90 days, worked a deal out.
Wow.
With a big company here in Chicago. And they're still doing a great job with LobsterGram right now.
But so what's the next phase? What's the part 2 of the story? What happened after that?
So what I really found is my passion. I actually went on a backpacking hike for 4 days by myself, and I figured out all the things I don't want to do. And I think that's important, is to find out what you don't want to do for your 2.0. And that was, I don't want 125 employees. I don't want perishable inventory, and I do not want lines of credit.
Right.
And 5 years prior to exiting, I read this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And it was all about the entrepreneur operating system, where there's literally a system to run companies. And I was shocked at that, because I had always run everything by a meeting. Hey, sales are down, have a meeting. Sales are up, have a meeting. Whatever it is. And so this book changed my life. And it made me realize that what I am most passionate about is helping entrepreneurs. So helping entrepreneurs is really what I was built to do. And so I joined the organization, Entrepreneur Operating System, and I became a professional implementer. And what I do now is I work with entrepreneur companies between 10 and 500 employees, and I help them get more out of their business, more profits, more personal free time, more fun, and that they are excited about their business. And it's a whole process that we go through. And I am, like I said, I'm just built for this. I love it. My new company is Traction Vision Group. And it just, after 32 years of the ugly, the bad, the great stuff, I just have so much experience to help entrepreneurs. And this is my new passion in life, and I'm just so happy about it. So number 1, have a short business plan. And I mean short, 2 pages, right? That if you cannot articulate your business in 2 pages, it's probably a bunch of bullshit, okay? That's the bottom line. Remember, if you're going to give someone a 50-page, 100-page document to a bank or a PE firm you're trying to get money from, right? You think they're going to read the whole thing? Most likely not, okay? They know about all of those software programs and all that, so don't even go that way. Do it in your own words, okay? Number 2, don't listen to the naysayers. Those people are out there. They're just negative people. I can't even tell you how many times in the first probably 5 years I had LobsterGram, people were like, oh, that's a stupid idea. If it was such a great idea, somebody else would have done it. Well, guess what? Nobody else done it. I did it, okay? I didn't want to be one of those people when they're 50 years old going, oh man, that was my idea. I could have done that, all right? So don't listen to the naysayers, all right? Number 3. I don't know what it is, but successful entrepreneurs, I call it the entrepreneurial sense. They have a way to get from point A to point B, all right? So they can go from here to here to here, back up like this, but they get there. They can just see it in their mind's eye that that's how you do it. 90% of the people out there, point A to point B, they get about here and then they go, oh, I can't do this anymore, okay? Those aren't entrepreneurs. And you know what? Thank God for that, for all us entrepreneurs out there, because if everybody was an entrepreneur, guess what? There would be so much more competition. So those are the 3 things that I think are most important for successful entrepreneurs.
So here I am, guys. What a wonderful story about LobsterGram and Dan Zawacki and the stories of these 30 years and the passion, how it moved from one step to the next one at a time, and then he kept on pushing it. And that's the story of every startup founder. We keep on pushing it. We persevere. We have the grit. We are somewhat kind of numb to anxieties. We are somewhat sometimes even numb to fear factor. But that's the stuff that keeps us going every day. Every morning we wake up and we want to make a change, and I believe you're trying to make a change as well, and that's what Dan tried to make a change as well. So again, thanks for Dan being a part of our series, and I'm really thankful to all the people that are watching my content and my audience. And if you have any questions, leave a note for how to contact Dan, and as well throw some comments on what you feel about it, what your stories are, and I would love to cover you if there's some interesting things that's happening on your end. Once again, thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll meet again. Ciao.